Still just a nurse? Vanessa's laugh cut across the ballroom as Adrian Falcone stepped through the doors behind her. Maya Whitmore felt the stem of her water glass turn slick between her fingers. Crystal chandeliers spilled white light over the Hudson Crest Hotel's charity gala, flashing against champagne flutes and polished silver, while a string quartet played near the stage, its violins almost delicate enough to hide the insult. Almost. Vanessa Hale stood 3 feet away in a fitted navy evening gown beneath a white physician's coat she had draped over one arm like another credential. Her perfume carried sharp citrus through the warmer smell of roasted coffee and catered steak. "I'm serious," Vanessa continued, glancing at Maya's navy scrubs beneath her plain black coat. "After all these years, all those late shifts, all that ambition, still just a nurse." 2 residents beside her lowered their glasses. Someone near the donor table gave a quick, embarrassed laugh. Maya set her water down carefully before the glass could betray the pressure in her hand. "Emergency nurse," she said. "Trauma certified." Vanessa's smile widened. Of course. The old tone was still there, polished enough to pass for concern. It was the same tone she had once used whenever Maya chose a 12-hour shift over a restaurant Vanessa considered appropriate, whenever she spoke about nurses as if they were background staff orbiting the real professionals. Maya had not seen her in nearly 4 years. She had hoped time might have taught Vanessa restraint. Instead, it had only given her better tailoring. "You know," Vanessa said, turning slightly so the nearby doctors could hear, "I always thought you'd eventually want more for yourself." Maya's thumb brushed the thin gold chain beneath the collar of her scrubs. Hidden against her skin, under layers of cotton, hung the wedding ring she did not wear at work. "I wanted exactly what I chose." Vanessa's eyes dipped to her bare left hand. Clearly, the quartet reached the end of a song. Applause rolled through the ballroom, but Maya did not join it. Across the room, hospital trustees began turning toward the entrance. Conversations softened one by one. A security man in a charcoal suit appeared first, then another. The atmosphere changed before the man himself was fully visible. Adrian Falcone entered without hurry. Black tuxedo. No tie pin, no unnecessary shine. Dark hair swept back, shoulders still beneath the clean lines of his jacket. He did not need an introduction. Half the donors in the room knew Falcone Holdings as one of the hospital's largest private benefactors. The other half knew enough about Adrian Falcone to avoid asking where all his influence came from. Vanessa followed the shift in attention and immediately straightened. "Well," she murmured, smoothing one hand over her gown, "this evening may finally become interesting." Maya looked at Adrian once. That was all. His gaze found her through 80 people, through moving waiters and reflected chandelier light, and stopped. He saw the scrubs. He saw Vanessa standing too close. He saw the expression Maya had learned to wear when she refused to give anyone the satisfaction of watching her react. His jaw tightened once. Maya's fingers closed around the edge of the cocktail table. "Do not." She did not say it aloud. She did not need to. 6 months of marriage had taught Adrian the smallest language of her face. Vanessa, unaware of any of it, lifted her champagne and stepped directly into his path. "Mr. Falcone." Her voice changed instantly, lower and warmer. "Dr. Vanessa Hale. Cardiology." Adrian stopped. His eyes moved from Vanessa to Maya, then back. "Doctor." Vanessa smiled. "I don't believe we've officially met, though I was actually involved in your care once." Maya's pulse struck hard against the hidden ring beneath her collar. That part, Vanessa was not supposed to know mattered tonight. "Small world," Vanessa continued, then gestured toward Maya with casual dismissal. "And this is Maya. We used to know each other. She's one of the nurses here." Adrian looked at Maya for a long second. He had promised her he would never expose their marriage unless she chose it first. So he said nothing about the ring beneath her scrubs. Nothing about the home they shared. Nothing about the mornings when she stole his coffee and the nights he waited, awake until her shift ended. Vanessa mistook his silence for indifference. "Still doing bedside work, apparently," she added with a soft laugh. "Some people never really move beyond where they started." Adrian's hand lowered slowly from the cuff of his jacket. The room seemed suddenly quieter, though the quartet had begun another song. Maya saw the exact moment restraint became effort. Then Adrian turned fully toward Vanessa. "Do you always speak that way?" he asked, his voice calm enough to make the nearest conversation die. About the woman who saved my life. Vanessa's champagne glass stopped halfway to her lips. For a second, the only sound between them was the whisper of violin strings and the soft clink of silverware against china from the tables behind her. Saved your life? She repeated. Adrian did not blink. Under the chandelier light, the black satin of his lapels caught a thin silver edge, while Maya stood several feet away with one hand pressed against the cool marble cocktail table. That's what I said. Vanessa recovered quickly. She always had. Her shoulders relaxed, and a professional smile returned as smoothly as a mask sliding into place. Then there must be some confusion. I was part of the team that treated you. I remember my team. Adrian's gaze moved past her to Maya. Especially her. Maya crossed the space before Vanessa could answer. Her rubber-soled shoes made almost no sound against the polished floor, but Adrian noticed her coming immediately. She touched 2 fingers to his sleeve. A tiny gesture. A warning. Mr. Falcone, she said carefully, keeping her voice formal. May I speak with you? Vanessa's eyebrows lifted at the familiarity hidden inside the request. Adrian could have ended the performance with 4 words. She is my wife. Instead, he looked at Maya's hand on his sleeve, then nodded. Excuse us. He placed his untouched drink on a passing waiter's tray and followed her through a side door into a service corridor. The music dulled behind the heavy wood. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The hallway smelled faintly of coffee, disinfectant, and warm bread from the catering kitchen, nothing like the expensive perfume and champagne on the other side. Maya kept walking until they reached an empty alcove beside a linen cart. Then she turned. You promised me. Adrian stopped 6 feet away. I kept my promise. Barely. You wanted me to stand there while she reduced you to your job title. I wanted you not to tell 80 people that I'm your wife. His jaw shifted. Those are different requests. Maya folded her arms. The fabric of her scrubs rasped softly beneath her coat. Adrian. Hearing his first name changed something in his face. The mafia boss disappeared for half a heartbeat, leaving only the man who knew exactly why the ring around her neck stayed hidden. I spent 12 years earning the right to walk into that hospital and have people trust my judgment, Maya said. If you announce our marriage tonight, tomorrow I'm not Nurse Whitmore. I'm Falcone's wife. Every promotion becomes yours. Every good evaluation becomes fear. Every doctor who listens to me will wonder whether they're listening because I'm right or because they're afraid of you. Adrian stepped closer, but he did not touch her. Cold air from the vent moved between them. And what am I supposed to do when someone humiliates you in front of me? Trust me to survive a sentence. His eyes held hers. I know you can survive it. His voice dropped. That doesn't mean I have to enjoy hearing it. The corner of Maya's mouth almost moved. Almost. Then the ballroom door opened behind them. Vanessa appeared, heels clicking sharply against tile. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. She clearly had. Her gaze traveled from Maya to Adrian, measuring the distance between them. Mr. Falcone, the hospital chairman is looking for you. He can wait. Vanessa hesitated. Of course. Then she looked at Maya. Actually, Maya, since we're apparently revisiting old cases tonight, perhaps you should hear this too. She opened the leather portfolio beneath her arm and removed a photocopied medical record. Your emergency admission, she told Adrian. 2 years ago. I recognized the name on the donor briefing once I saw your photograph. Maya's eyes dropped to the page. Adrian watched her expression change. Vanessa tapped the physician's signature at the bottom. I was the cardiology fellow who signed your stabilization orders. She smiled, smaller now, sharper. So if we're discussing who saved your life, perhaps we should be accurate. Adrian reached for the document, but Maya caught his wrist. Her fingers were warm against his skin. No, he looked down at her hand. Maya, not here. She just claimed your work. And I said not here. Adrian slowly lowered his hand. Vanessa watched him obey her, and for the first time that evening, her smile disappeared completely. Maya released his wrist and stepped back. You promised me my life would still belong to me after I married you. Adrian's eyes stayed on hers. It does. Then let me handle this my way. Silence stretched beneath the fluorescent hum. Finally, Adrian nodded once. Maya turned toward the ballroom doors. Vanessa moved aside, but Maya stopped beside her. She did not raise her voice. Enjoy the gala, doctor. Vanessa gave a brittle laugh. That's it. Maya pushed open the door, releasing a wave of music and golden light into the corridor. No. She looked back at Adrian, then at the medical record in Vanessa's hand. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to show him exactly who kept him alive. 2 years earlier, Adrian Falcone arrived in Maya's emergency room with no empire, no guards, and someone else's name on his wristband. At 2:17 a.m., the ER smelled of antiseptic, burnt coffee, and the metallic chill of overworked air conditioning. Fluorescent lights washed everything pale. Monitors chirped behind curtains while rubber saws squeaked across freshly mopped tile. Maya pulled on blue gloves as paramedics rolled a man into trauma 4. 39-year-old male, found unconscious in a parking garage, one paramedic said. Blood pressure 94/60. Chest pain before he went down. No ID except a driver's license. The name printed on the chart was Anthony Fallon. Maya barely looked at it. She looked at him. Dark hair damp at the temples. Expensive black shirt cut open at the collar for leads. A watch worth more than her annual salary sealed inside a plastic belongings bag. His eyes opened briefly as she attached the cardiac monitor. Mr. Fallon, can you hear me? His gaze found hers. Even half-conscious, it was unnervingly steady. Unfortunately, Maya almost smiled. Good. Sarcasm means your brain is getting oxygen. The monitor gave 3 quick beeps. She looked up. The rhythm settled before anyone else turned. Dr. Vanessa Hale entered moments later, still a cardiology fellow then, carrying a tablet and the clean confidence Maya remembered too well. Vanessa examined the first ECG, listened to Adrian's chest, then ordered medication and observation. Possible vasovagal episode complicated by dehydration, she said. Repeat ECG in 30 minutes. She moved toward the door. Maya stayed beside the bed. Adrian's fingers had tightened around the sheet. A faint sheen appeared across his forehead despite the room's cold air. Pressure's dropping, Maya called. Vanessa glanced toward the monitor. It's within tolerance. Maya checked the cuff manually. 82/54. Adrian turned his head toward her, breathing shallowly now. Something's wrong, he said. Maya pressed 2 fingers against his wrist. Fast. Uneven. Then the monitor changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. A subtle shift in the tracing, there and gone. Maya reached for the 12-lead ECG cart. I want another tracing now. Vanessa stopped at the curtain. I ordered 30 minutes. He may not have 30. The room went still except for the monitor and the hiss of oxygen. Vanessa's mouth tightened. Nurse Whitmore. His pressure fell 12 points, his rhythm changed, and his chest pain is increasing. Maya was already placing fresh electrodes against Adrian's skin. If I'm wrong, you lose 5 minutes. Paper whispered from the machine. Maya tore off the tracing and held it under the harsh ceiling light. Vanessa took one look. Her expression changed. Call the attending. Maya was already moving. She hit the wall button, pulled the crash cart closer, increased oxygen, and called for cardiology. The room filled in seconds, voices, wheels rattling over tile, packaging tearing open. Adrian's hand suddenly closed around Maya's wrist. Don't leave. His voice barely carried above the alarms. Maya looked. Down at the stranger everyone knew as Anthony Fallon. I'm right here. You don't know me. I don't need to. She stayed beside him until the attending arrived and the team rushed him upstairs. Hours later, Dawn painted the hospital windows gray-blue. Maya was replacing supplies when a transport aide told her the patient from trauma 4 had survived emergency treatment. She found him after sunrise in a monitored cardiac room, awake beneath thin white blankets, the air smelling faintly of saline and hospital soap. Adrian turned when she entered. The nurse who ignored the doctor. Maya checked his foreline. The nurse who escalated a deteriorating patient. That sounds less criminal. It usually does in the chart. His mouth shifted slightly. Then he studied her badge. Maya Whitmore. You're supposed to be resting. Why did you do it? She looked at him. Do what? Risk being wrong. Maya adjusted the blanket where it had caught beneath the bed rail. Because being embarrassed cost me nothing. Being quiet could have cost you everything. Adrian's gaze followed her hands. You didn't know who I was. Maya paused. Mr. Fallon, on my floor, nobody is just anything. For the first time, the man behind the false name had no answer. Maya walked out, leaving the door to close softly behind her. Adrian waited until her footsteps disappeared, then reached for the disposable wristband around his arm. Anthony Fallon. He stared at the false name, then toward the empty doorway. When his private security chief finally entered 10 minutes later and quietly called him Mr. Falcone, Adrian gave only one instruction. Find out who Maya Whitmore is. Everything. Adrian looked toward the hallway where she had vanished. No, his thumb passed once over the edge of the hospital band. Nothing she hasn't chosen to tell me herself. 6 months into their marriage, Maya still wore Adrian's ring on a chain beneath her scrubs, and Vanessa had no idea. By 7:05 the next morning, the gala's chandeliers had been replaced by the hard white lights of Hudson Crest's emergency department. Phones rang behind the nurse's station, wheels rattled across tile, and the air carried the familiar mix of disinfectant and bitter coffee. Maya stood at a workstation reviewing an overnight chart when a black sedan stopped beyond the glass entrance. Adrian stepped out alone. No tuxedo now. Charcoal coat, black shirt, the same controlled stride that made people instinctively clear space for him. Maya met him before he reached the treatment base. You shouldn't be here. You said tomorrow morning. I meant I would handle it tomorrow morning. It is tomorrow morning. She exhaled through her nose and caught his sleeve, steering him toward an empty consultation room before 3 residents could recognize him. The door clicked shut. Cool fluorescent light flattened the room's pale walls. Somewhere beyond them, a monitor alarm sounded twice and stopped. Adrian watched Maya pull the chain from beneath her scrub top. Her wedding ring slid into her palm, warm from her skin. Put it on, he said quietly. Maya looked at him. That would solve your problem, not mine. My problem is listening to people speak about my wife as though her profession makes her smaller. And mine is making sure they respect Nurse Whitmore when Adrian Falcone isn't standing beside her. His eyes dropped to the ring. 6 months earlier, they had exchanged vows in a private courthouse ceremony with only 2 witnesses. Maya had made one condition before signing anything. Inside Hudson Crest, she would remain Maya Whitmore. No security entourage at the nurse's station. No donations tied to her department. No whispered promotions. Adrian had stared at that condition longer than the marriage license. Then he had signed. Now Maya closed her fingers around the ring. You promised my life would still be mine. Adrian stepped forward and gently folded her fingers tighter around it. And I meant it. Then today you follow my rules. A muscle moved once in his jaw. That may be the most dangerous sentence anyone has ever said to me. You'll survive. This time his mouth actually curved. Maya slipped the ring beneath her scrubs again and opened the door. Come on. She led him to medical records, where a hospital compliance clerk verified Adrian's identity and authorization before accessing the archived encounter. Maya did not ask Adrian to pull strings. She stood beside him while the printer hummed and warm pages slid into the tray one by one. Medication administration record, ECG timestamps, nursing flow sheets, physician orders. Adrian picked up the stack. Maya remained still. Something was wrong. Not hidden evidence, not yet, but something she already knew from living that night. The story on paper felt smaller than the room she remembered. Before she could speak, heels clicked behind them. Vanessa stood in the doorway wearing a white coat over gray slacks, an identification badge clipped neatly at her waist. I wondered how long this would take. She carried the same leather portfolio from the gala. Adrian's expression cooled. Maya stepped between them before he could answer. You said you were involved in his care. I was. Vanessa opened her portfolio and placed a certified copy of the admission summary on the counter. The physician section bore her electronic signature. Dr. Vanessa Hale, cardiology fellow. Stabilization orders initiated at 2:24 a.m. Adrian looked at the timestamp, then at Maya. Vanessa noticed. Your nurse did her job, she said. She monitored you. She followed orders. Important work, certainly. But nurses don't make the diagnosis, Mr. Falcone. They don't direct cardiac care. Maya's hand flattened against the cold counter. Who told you I made the diagnosis? Vanessa paused, only for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled. You seem determined to receive credit for something. No, Maya slid Vanessa's document back toward her. I'm determined to make sure the right person receives it. Vanessa leaned closer. And you think that person is you? Adrian shifted, but Maya raised one hand without looking at him. He stopped. Vanessa saw it again. One gesture from the woman she had mocked, and Adrian Falcone obeyed. Maya turned toward the compliance clerk. Please preserve the complete record exactly as it exists right now. No amendments, no late entries, no corrections without formal review. The clerk nodded and began typing. Vanessa's smile vanished. Maya looked directly at her. You wanted accuracy. The printer started. Again behind them, mechanical and relentless. So that's exactly what we're going to give you. The first thing Maya noticed was not what the medical record contained, but what it no longer did. The compliance office had gone quiet around them, sealed behind frosted glass, while the hospital moved beyond the door in muffled bursts of ringing phones and rolling carts. A laser printer breathed warm toner into the cold room. Maya stood beneath the fluorescent lights with Adrian's 2-year-old chart spread across a steel table, arranging each page by timestamp. 2:17, arrival, she said. Her finger moved. 2:20, first ECG. 2:24, Vanessa's orders. 2:29, repeat ECG. Adrian stood opposite her, sleeves rolled once at his wrists. And Maya touched the empty space between two numbered pages. And my escalation note should be here. Vanessa, still near the doorway, crossed her arms. Perhaps you remember writing something you never entered. Maya looked up. I documented it before you called the attending. 2 years ago. I remember because you told me to change the wording. Vanessa's heel stopped tapping. Adrian's eyes moved to her, but Maya was already at the computer beside the compliance clerk. Can you check the electronic audit history? The clerk hesitated. That requires a formal integrity review. Maya slid Adrian's signed authorization across the desk. Then open one. Vanessa stepped forward. This is becoming ridiculous. Adrian finally moved. One quiet step placed him beside Maya rather than in front of her. Then you should have nothing to worry about. The clerk entered several commands. Keys clicked rapidly beneath her fingers. Blue-white light reflected across Maya's face as archived activity populated the monitor. Nobody spoke. The ventilation system pushed cold air across the paper records, lifting one corner of Vanessa's signed summary again and again. There, the clerk said. Maya leaned closer. The audit log showed her nursing note created at 2:31 a.m., timestamp before the attending physician entered the case. Her initials were attached to it. MW. The clerk scrolled. But the note isn't in the current encounter view. Vanessa's voice sharpened. Records migrate. Fields get corrupted. Keep scrolling, Maya said. Another line appeared. The archived note had been accessed the following afternoon. Modified attribution. User identification attached. The clerk stopped breathing for a beat. Adrian did not need to ask whose login it was. Vanessa Hale. Maya stared at the screen, then slowly turned. Vanessa's face had lost its polished gala smile. I corrected the chart, she said. You altered my attribution. I standardized documentation after the case. You removed the note showing I escalated his deterioration before your intervention. You were a nurse following protocol. Adrian's hand flattened against the steel table with a soft, controlled thud. Vanessa glanced at him. Mr. Falcone, medicine is collaborative. Nurses monitor patients. Physicians make decisions. Maya did what she was employed to do. Maya reached across the table and closed the chart. The sound cracked through the room. Adrian looked at her. She could see the question in his face before he spoke it. Permission. One phone call from him could put hospital executives in this room before the coffee cooled. One sentence could turn Vanessa's mourning into catastrophe. Maya shook her head. No, Maya. Not your way. Vanessa gave a short laugh. Of course. Because even she understands how this looks. A nurse married to one of the hospital's largest donors suddenly demanding credit for saving him. The room changed. Adrian's eyes snapped to Maya. The compliance clerk froze over the keyboard. Vanessa frowned. Married. Maya realized what Adrian had heard. Not Vanessa's accusation, but the danger beneath it. If their marriage became the weapon used to prove her right, Vanessa could make every fact look purchased. Adrian reached into his coat for his phone. Maya caught his hand before he could remove it. You promised. His voice dropped. She stole your work. Then my work will expose her. I can end this today. And tomorrow everyone will say I won because my husband frightened them. Vanessa stared between them, finally understanding what she had been too arrogant to see at the gala. Maya released Adrian's hand and turned to the compliance clerk. Preserve the audit log. Notify clinical integrity. I want a formal review, and I want every conclusion documented without Mr. Falcone's involvement. The clerk nodded. Maya then faced Vanessa across the cold steel table. You were right about one thing. Nurses don't get to rewrite physician records. She placed one finger on the audit printout bearing Vanessa's user ID. But physicians don't get to erase nurses from them either. Vanessa's lips parted. Maya picked up her badge and clipped it firmly back onto her scrubs. From this moment forward, Adrian does nothing. She looked at her husband. I prove what happened that night myself. By noon, Maya's hospital badge no longer opened the emergency department doors. The scanner flashed red beneath her hand, and the electronic lock gave a flat mechanical buzz that sounded louder than it should have in the bright corridor. Through the glass, nurses moved between treatment rooms beneath white fluorescent panels, phones ringing over the steady pulse of cardiac monitors. Maya tried the badge once more. Red. Maya. She turned. The director of nursing stood beside a clinical integrity officer holding a sealed envelope. Effective immediately, you're on administrative suspension pending review. Maya took the envelope. The paper felt stiff and cold against her palm. On what grounds? The officer's expression remained neutral. Dr. Hale submitted a formal complaint this morning. Unauthorized access to a former patient's protected medical information, improper pursuit of professional credit, and a potential conflict involving a major hospital donor. Maya's eyes moved through the glass to where she had worked less than an hour earlier. The patient personally authorized access. That will be reviewed. And the altered record? Also under review. Footsteps approached from behind. Adrian. His black coat was still buttoned from the street, and two men in dark suits waited 20 feet back near the elevators. He took in the red scanner, the envelope, Maya's badge hanging uselessly from her fingers. Who suspended her? The hallway went still. Maya stepped directly into his path. Don't. Adrian's gaze remained on the administrator. I asked a question, and I'm answering it. Maya pressed the envelope against his chest. This is exactly what Vanessa wants. Adrian looked down at the paper, then at her. She accuses you after altering your work, and I'm supposed to stand here? Yes. The word landed between them. Behind the glass doors, someone wheeled an empty gurney past, its rubber wheels humming over polished tile. Adrian lowered his voice. You're asking me to watch them take away the work you built your life around. Maya unclipped her badge. The plastic edge caught against her scrub pocket before coming free. Temporarily. You don't know that. Neither do you. She placed the badge in the administrator's waiting hand herself. That small movement stopped Adrian more effectively than any guard could have. Maya turned toward the elevators. Come home with me. He followed. In the parking garage, cold concrete air carried the smell of gasoline and rainwater tracked in by tires. Adrian's sedan waited beneath buzzing strip lights. He opened the rear door for Maya, but she did not get inside. What did she say in the complaint? He asked. Maya unfolded the letter beneath the harsh overhead light. Her eyes moved down the page, then stopped. She says our relationship may have begun while you were under my care. Adrian's face emptied. That's false. I know. She knows. Probably. Adrian reached inside his coat. Maya caught his wrist before his phone cleared the pocket. No calls. Maya. No board members. No attorneys threatening the hospital. No Falcone people visiting Vanessa. His eyes hardened at the last sentence. I wasn't going to threaten her. You were going to make one phone call, and 20 people would become afraid of disappointing you. She released him. Same result. For several seconds, rain tapped through an open ventilation grate above them. Then Adrian reached into a different pocket. Fine. Instead of a phone, he removed a small leather card case, worn softly at the corners. From behind his driver's license, he pulled a faded strip of white plastic. Maya stared. Anthony Fallon. The false patient name was barely legible now. The hospital wristband from 2 years earlier. You kept that. Adrian held it between two fingers. The night I met you, everyone around me cared who I was. My enemies cared. My men cared. The people who wanted my money cared. His thumb traced the faded barcode. You were the first person in years who saved me before knowing any of it. Maya's hand slowly closed around the wristband. Adrian. I kept it because I knew one day I might forget what it felt like to matter without the Falcone name. The garage lights reflected against the thin gold chain visible at Maya's collar. Adrian stepped back. No command. No intervention. You asked me to trust you, he said. So I will. Maya looked from the wristband to the suspension letter in her other hand. One had taken her job away that morning. The other reminded her exactly why the truth mattered. She folded the complaint once and placed it in her coat pocket. Then she handed Adrian his wristband back. Tomorrow is the clinical integrity hearing. What do you need from me? Maya met his eyes. Sit in that room as the patient I saved. The elevator chimed behind them. Maya pressed the call button and the steel doors opened. And when Vanessa tries to make this about your power, don't save me. She stepped inside and turned to face him. Tell them exactly what happened and let me save myself. At 9:03 the next morning, Maya placed her own timeline on the hearing room table before anyone could speak for her. The clinical integrity conference room overlooked Manhattan through tall windows streaked with yesterday's rain. But inside, the blinds were half closed against the glare. The air conditioning ran cold enough to raise bumps along Maya's forearms. A digital recorder glowed red beside 3 untouched glasses of water, and every movement of paper sounded unnaturally loud against the dark walnut table. Vanessa sat across from her in a white coat, an attorney at her side. Adrian sat 6 feet behind Maya, exactly where she had asked him to sit. Not beside her, not in front of her. No guards inside. No whispered phone calls. Just the patient she had once known as Anthony Fallon, watching in silence. The committee. Chair adjusted her glasses. Ms. Whitmore, you may proceed. Maya stood. She did not begin with Vanessa's altered record. She began with the patient. At 2:17 a.m., he arrived hypotensive after losing consciousness. She placed the ambulance intake sheet on the display table. At 2:20, his first ECG was obtained. At 2:24, observation orders were entered. At 2:27, his blood pressure dropped to 82/54. Vanessa leaned back. Those numbers prove monitoring, not independent intervention. Maya did not look at her. Correct. She placed another sheet down. So let's keep going. The projector clicked. A medication administration record appeared on the wall. At 2:28, oxygen flow was increased. Another click. At 2:29, I initiated the repeat 12-lead ECG because his rhythm changed and his symptoms worsened. Another. The ECG timestamp filled the screen. At 2:31, I escalated to the attending. Vanessa's attorney shifted. The nursing note documenting that escalation is absent from the current chart. Yes, Maya said, but the clinical actions aren't. She crossed to the monitor and pointed at the sequence. Oxygen adjustment, ECG acquisition, crash cart movement recorded by equipment tracking, attending notification, cardiology response. Separate systems. Separate timestamps. One continuous chain. You can remove a sentence from a chart, Maya said. You can't make every machine in an emergency department forget what happened. The room went silent except for the ventilation fan. Vanessa pushed her chair back. This is theater. She performed nursing tasks after physician orders were already in place. Maya finally faced her. Your order said repeat ECG in 30 minutes. Vanessa's lips tightened. Maya pointed to the timestamp. I repeated it in 5. Because you were concerned. Because he was deteriorating. And I reviewed the tracing. After I escalated. The committee chair raised a hand before Vanessa could answer. Dr. Hale, let her finish. That sentence changed the room. Maya returned to her seat, but remained standing behind it. I'm not claiming I performed the procedure that ultimately stabilized him. I didn't. I'm saying I recognized the change, acted within emergency nursing protocol, and escalated before the scheduled reassessment. That is what happened. Vanessa turned toward Adrian as if patience had finally snapped. Then perhaps the patient should settle this. Maya's fingers tightened around the chair back. Vanessa looked directly at him. Mr. Falcone, tell them who saved you. Adrian rose. The scrape of his chair across the floor made everyone look at him. He walked forward without touching Maya and placed the faded Anthony Fallon wristband beside the recorder. I remember the doctor who came into my room, he said. I remember her leaving. Vanessa went still. I remember my pressure falling. I remember telling Maya something was wrong. I remember her moving before anyone else did. His eyes found Maya, and I remember asking why she risked being wrong for a stranger. The room seemed to shrink around his next words. She told me being embarrassed would cost her nothing, but being quiet could cost me everything. Vanessa's attorney stopped writing. Adrian touched one finger to the faded wristband. Then she said something I have remembered for 2 years. His voice softened without losing its weight. On my floor, nobody is just anything. Vanessa looked from him to Maya, and something new entered her face. Not recognition of the nurse she had mocked, but recognition of the way Adrian was looking at her. "This isn't about medicine anymore, is it?" she said. Adrian's gaze did not move. Vanessa stood abruptly. "Who is she to you?" Maya's wedding ring rested beneath her scrubs, hidden against her skin. Adrian had promised not to reveal it. He kept that promise. He stepped back and let Maya remain at the center of the room. "She is the reason I'm alive," he said. "And before this hearing ends, you're going to answer for why you tried to make the record say otherwise." Vanessa's chair struck the wall when she stood, but this time no one looked away from Maya. The recorder's red light burned steadily on the walnut table. The projector fan whispered beneath the cold air conditioning, and beyond the half-closed blinds, Manhattan sunlight flashed against the hospital windows. Vanessa pressed both palms to the table. "This is absurd. A billionaire donor remembers a nurse fondly, and suddenly we're rewriting medical history." Adrian's eyes hardened, but Maya moved first. She stepped around her chair and collected the time-stamped records one by one. "No one is rewriting anything." She laid the ECG beside the medication log. "That was the problem." Vanessa gave a brittle laugh. "You want everyone here to believe you're some kind of hero because you noticed a monitor change?" "No," Maya's voice remained level. "I want them to believe the timestamps." The committee chair glanced toward Vanessa's attorney. He no longer met anyone's eyes. Vanessa turned toward Adrian. "And you stand there pretending this is about professional integrity when everyone can see what's happening." Adrian said nothing. Maya had asked him to let her fight. He did. Vanessa pointed at Maya. "She's valuable to you now because she attached herself to your name. Without you, she's exactly what she was when I knew her." Maya's hand stopped over the papers. Vanessa's voice sharpened. A nurse working 12-hour shifts while everyone around her actually moved forward. Adrian took one step. Maya did not stop him this time. "Careful," he said. Vanessa stared back. "Why?" "Because your favorite nurse might hear something unpleasant." Adrian reached the table. His hand went not toward Vanessa, but toward Maya. He waited. Maya looked at him, then at the faces around the room. For 6 months, she had protected one boundary because she needed her work to remain hers. Now Vanessa had turned that privacy into a weapon. Maya reached beneath the collar of her scrubs and drew out the thin gold chain. The ring caught the projector light and flashed once across the dark table. Vanessa's mouth opened. Maya unclasped the chain. Adrian held out his hand, and she dropped the ring into his palm. For 1 second, he simply looked at it. Then he took Maya's left hand and slid the band onto her finger. "You keep calling her my nurse," Adrian said. His voice was quiet, but even the attorney stopped moving. "She's my wife." The silence that followed was absolute. Vanessa's face drained. Beneath the fluorescent light, her eyes dropped to Maya's ring, then rose slowly toward Adrian. "Your wife?" 6 months. Vanessa stepped backward. "Then this entire hearing is compromised." "No," Maya said. She moved between Adrian and the committee table before his name could become the center of the room. "Our marriage is why I insisted he have no role in the review." She turned to the committee chair. "Check every communication. He contacted no board member on my behalf. He funded nothing related to this case. He requested his own record as the patient and testified to what he personally remembers." The chair nodded slowly. "That can be verified." Vanessa looked toward her attorney. He closed his folder. "Vanessa, no." Her voice cracked against the room. She hid this. Maya faced her. "I protected my career from exactly what you're doing now. You married Adrian Falcone and expect people to believe you're independent? I was independent when I saved him." Vanessa froze. Maya stepped closer, the gold band now visible against her hand. "That's the part you can't erase. I didn't know his real name. I didn't know his money. I didn't know what people whispered about him. He was a patient whose blood pressure was falling, and I did my job." Adrian's gaze stayed on Maya. Not possessive, not commanding, simply there. Vanessa's shoulders tightened. "So what happens now?" "Your husband destroys my career." Maya looked at the audit log, then pushed it toward the committee chair instead of Adrian. "No." The paper slid across polished wood and stopped beneath the recorder's red light. "Clinical integrity decides what happens to your career." Vanessa stared at her. Maya removed her suspended badge from her bag and placed it beside the audit record. "I don't want revenge. I want the chart corrected, my suspension reviewed, and every alteration formally investigated." The committee chair gathered the documents. "Dr. Hale, You are being placed on administrative leave effective immediately while the integrity investigation proceeds. Vanessa's hand tightened around the back of her chair. Yesterday, she had laughed at Maya in a ballroom because she believed a job title told her which woman held the power. Now security waited outside for Vanessa, while Maya stood in blue scrubs with Adrian Falcone's ring finally visible on her hand. Maya opened the hearing room door herself. "You wanted everyone to know where I ended up," she said. Vanessa stopped beside her. Maya held her gaze. "Now they do."